So we're exploring a phenomenon that has become increasingly prevalent in recent years. According to Pew Research, nearly half of adults under 30 are now living with their parents, a statistic that has seen a dramatic spike over time, especially over these last several years. Now, many say they are choosing to live with their parents to save money, with many saying that they can't even afford to live on their own. But this is also causing some parents additional financial stress and even slowing their own progress with their finances. Hey guys, welcome to the show today. I am Brad Nelson, founder of Debt Free Dad. I paid off $45,000 of debt, have been debt free now for more than 11 years outside of my mortgage. And I've also helped thousands of people over the years save and pay off tens of millions of dollars with the work that we do here at Debt Free Dad.
And I'm Amber Taylor, and I have actually paid off $54,000. I did it in 20 months and have been living debt free for, I think, over 6 years now and absolutely loving every minute of it.
My name is Chris Hawkins, and from 2006 until 2008, my wife and I paid off almost $100,000 in debt, and we are proud to have been debt-free now, except for our house, since 2008.
And I am Katie Hatfield. I am actually still on my debt journey. And as of this week, I have paid off over $150,000 in debt in 5.5 years on a single income.
And my name is Ryan Nelson. I paid off $160,000 over 8 years.
Now, after listening to this episode, if you want to take your finances a step further, we've got an awesome free workshop that I'll be sharing details about later on in the show. Now, to kind of set the tone for the show, this conversation we've had several times privately, but also we've done an episode similar to this in how to tell your adult children no. But we found this article recently that was put out here in the early part of 2024 that is titled, "The Economy is Different Now. Parents Pay Grown-Up Kids' Bills with Retirement Savings." So I want to read through this article, and then we're going to take some time here and react as your hosts and kind of talk about how we feel about this topic. And I know a few of us have this kind of going on in our lives or have had it going on, and I'm curious to see what their thoughts are going to be on this matter. But it starts out, this is written by Daniel Devise from USA Today, by the way. 3/5 of parents with adult children gave them financial help in the past year, Pew Research reports in a new study. The finding illustrates, in case we needed a reminder, that modern parenting does not end when a child turns 18, but supporting an adult child can get costly, financial planners say, and parents need to make sure their own financial needs are met. Now, roughly half of under 30 adults live with their parents. Prior Pew Research has shown that figure has spiked dramatically over the years, especially recently. Americans are marrying later and waiting longer to have children. Researchers say that those trends point to a new life stage tucked between adolescence and full adulthood. Some term it emerging adulthood. Young adults faced myriad economic challenges in 2024. College costs and student debt loads are rising. Housing prices have soared. Mercurial inflation and interest rates have vexed consumers. Parents, for their part, seem ever more inclined to carry on with parenting well past the age child exits childhood, removing every obstacle in their path. Some researchers call it snowplow parenting. It says, "Let's move everything out of the way so our kids can walk perfectly down the street," says Jonathan Abramowitz. Probably killed that dude's name. A psychology professor at the University of North Carolina. "It's easier than ever to pay an adult child's bills, whether the kids lives with you or not. Earlier generations mostly paid their bills by mail. Now everything is on apps or online." Pew reports that 28% of adults ages 18 to 34 receive financial help with their household expenses, such as groceries or utilities, in the past year. 25% got parents' help with cell phone bill or streaming subscriptions, 17% with rent or mortgage, 15% with medical expenses, and 11% with education expenses. Fewer than half of young adults claim complete financial independence from their parents. Pew reports even past 30. This one is pretty telling, guys. It's interesting. You're interested to see what you guys' opinion on this. Even past 30, 1/3 of adult children rely on their parents to pay at least some of their bills still. The Pew study published on January 25th draws on a survey of 4,512 adult children and parents. It says often parental aid to aging children is relatively trivial. John Maxwell, a lawyer in St. Louis, is the father to three 30-something daughters. When they finished school, he told them, in effect, you're on your own, kiddo. They got jobs, moved out, and learned to pay their way. But not entirely. The Maxwell parents still pay for a family cell phone plan and some streaming services, and each year the parents also cover some airfare and hotel bills for a family vacation. The father lent some money to his eldest daughter when she was starting out, but it was a loan, not a gift, he said. And that is where Maxwell's draw the line. It's a tough world out there, John Maxwell said. You've got to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. And for many aging parents, supporting an adult child seems the very essence of parenting. We'd go to the ends of the earth to make sure our children are safe and happy, said Christopher Lyman, a certified financial planner in Newtown, Pennsylvania, who advises couples with adult children. Parents who support adult children see their progeny emerging into a different world than the one they knew as young adults, said Teresa Bailey, a certified financial planner in Nashville. They feel like the economy is different now and the world is different, and it's more difficult for somebody to be fully financially independent, she said. Parental aid is fine, she said, so long as the parents can afford it. Some aging parents continue supporting adult children at the peril of their own retirement. And that's the first thing that we check, she said. Are you spending on your children and putting yourself in a situation where they will have to spend on you because you haven't saved enough for retirement? Bailey projects a couple's budget to age 90, showing them where their finances are likely to be based on their parents of saving and spending. For couples who spend heavily on adult children, she said, the exercise can yield a light bulb experience. In the new Pew study, more than 1/3 of parents who provided financial help to adult children said that doing so hurt their own finances. Often the ones who are providing the support aren't the ones who can afford to provide the support, Lyman said. For adult children on receiving the end of parental largacy, is that how you spell it? Largacy? The help can come as a blessing or a curse. In some circumstances, parental aid can be a godsend, a new graduate struggling with student loans or a first-time home buyer who can't quite make the down payment. Yet experts say the help must eventually come to an end. It does have a downside, Abramowitz said, and that is it can reinforce that need for dependence. Young adults, they get stuck because the parents are protecting them, and the kids never learn how to launch. Parents who support adult children have the best intentions at heart. Still, every so often, he said, they should ask themselves this question: when does it get in the way of the kid being able to move on with their adult life? So a little bit of a longer article here tonight, but just wanted to kind of give you guys the basis, as you guys, the listeners of this, of where this is all kind of coming from. But I'll kick it off. What do you guys think about this?
My oldest just moved out. It's been about a month now. He wanted to go to college. He went community college, then local here. So we allowed him to live at home to do that because we didn't want him to take out a bunch of debt to do it. He stayed here for a year after he graduated to save money. So he had money in the bank. He bought a car that he paid cash for, and it was time. And I know that things are hard. And he comes over and he complains about how we had it easy and how houses were so cheap and how this and how that. And I totally understand and empathize with that. But the reality is that's the way it is. And I can't fix that. I can't make that better. I can't make it go away. I can't make it cheaper. I can't make the house prices cheaper or groceries. I can't do any of that. And you staying here because things are expensive, I'm sorry, it's just not an option. Like, you're going to have to figure it out. That's how you figure life out. And it doesn't mean that we won't help, from my perspective. It doesn't mean like, hey, into this day, like we have family that once in a while will send us a gift card, like here's a gift card. Doesn't mean we would never do that for him, but that's more gifts. That's not like, hey, you're short on money this month, so I'm going to give you $500 so you can make ends meet. Like, I'm not saying I would never do that, but you better be like working like 80 hours before I even think about doing that. Like, if you tell me like, well, I didn't make it and I had my 2 days off and I did my normal stuff, I'm like, yeah, don't come ask me for that. I do think that kids got the wrong end of the stick, and I still think they do. I think they get terrible advice of like, go to school, go out of state, have the college experience. Parents are just as guilty as kids of doing that, and parents are pushing their kids to do that. And the kids get out of school and they have $100,000 in debt. I mean, I get it. I understand why they got to live maybe with you. But we as a society, we got to stop doing this. We have to break the cycle and stop letting our kids do these things that just kind of hamstring them.
You've got to set your kids up to the point that they've got to go out and be able to stand on their own 2 feet. That has been throughout the history of this country, is that you become an adult, you've got to take care of yourself. And we've got it a lot easier in some ways than, say, 100, 150, 200 years ago. But at the same time, I do understand that today's youth, and I use that as a term, say 10 years old all the way up to 30, I guess, they've got different challenges that we didn't have. Okay. And so they've got challenges. We had challenges. Their challenges are a little different than ours. But my perspective in life was a little old fashioned. Was my role as a parent was to get you to the point that when you became an adult, that you could take advantage of the freedoms that this country provides and be able to be anything that you want to be, but to be able to take care of yourself, because responsibility and freedom go hand in hand in my book. And so our role as parents, as I looked at it, was when we finally got to the point where we got out of debt, we're going to start taking care of ourselves first, because if we take care of ourselves, my wife and I, it means you're not going to be asked to do it as an adult financially. Okay. But at the same time, we're going to give you the tools. We're going to give you the tools to let you be successful. And so 2 of our 3 kids went on to college and graduated. Now, unlike Ryan, we did pay for it, or we paid for a good bit of it. They had to pay for their books. They had to pay for their spending money. We wanted them to have skin in the game, because we believe that when you have skin in the game and you've got your own dollars and your own money in it, you're going to work harder, you're going to appreciate it, and you're going to get through. And so the 2 that went on and graduated from college did so debt-free, because we made sure of that. But part of that's because we became debt-free and we had the ability to do that. So it was a matter of taking care of ourselves first in order to be able to do that for our kids. Now, the 3rd one, he decided college wasn't for him. And guess what? He kind of got the route, all right, you got to go get a job and take care of yourself. And it was an unpleasant time for him to have to make that transition a little quicker. But I am not principally the person that says, I'm going to let you stay at home. You've got to sort of be working on your own and have a plan and have a path. And then I might, as Ryan mentioned, give you something to help out. And so all my kids are out of the house. They all take care of themselves. They all manage their own money. And I think down the road, they're going to be better off for it. And sometimes they call us, particularly the younger 2. They ask for advice. And it goes back to what Ryan said. I mean, you sort of have to live through things. You sort of have to experience things. You sort of have to figure things out. But I'll be there to help, give you my 2 cents worth. Sometimes that starts with setting your financial table in order so that you could help them do that. And so you can be the example and put yourselves financially in a position to help guide them out.
Well, I think it's, it's a complicated situation, and I think that's why it's hard just to come up with a straight answer. I think everyone's situation is different, and I by no means am I the type of person where, again, my children are a little bit younger. Noah's 14, and I'm the same way as you, Ryan. I mean, I'm already talking to him about, you're going to start working when you're 15. You're going to start getting a job. You're going to start learning how this stuff works. He knows that I invest a little money for him on a monthly basis, and he understands that money's there, and we're going to start having him invest into that money when he starts working. So he can start understanding how money works, how budgeting works, and all that. But, I would like to say, one of the reasons why I became, debt-free is to the point, it'd be great to be able to say one of the reasons I became debt-free is to give myself an opportunity. Like if you're like you said, Chris, is being able to help your kids out when they're getting married, or maybe able to help them out when they move into their first house and you want to help out with things like furniture and be able to do those types of things. I don't see anything wrong with that. Where I tend to see a lot of issues, and I've coached plenty of people who are in this situation, is where it is causing a lot of financial stress on the parents to help out their adult kids. And in a lot of cases, I shake my head, because the adult kids, it's like you said, Ryan, Josh, before he comes and asks me for money, better be like working all angles he can to make money before I give him money. And in a lot of cases, these parents aren't having their kids do that. A lot of these adult kids aren't even working 40 hours a week, or they're not working on the weekends. They're not trying to get themselves out of the house. And yet the parent who is financially struggling, not only with their own finances, now giving them money, which is hurting them even more. And these people don't have any plan to move on and move forward. And then, the parents are left with their hands up in the air like, well, I don't want to struggle like this anymore. It's like, well, this is a boundary issue. Like, you got to set some clear boundaries, clear expectations, and a goal of like, hey, you need to get out. Kind of like you said, Chris, we need to make a goal to get you out the door, right?
Yep.
But I think, and the other thing too is it doesn't surprise me that I'm seeing this, obviously, with inflation and expenses the way that they are. But when you've got nearly 7 out of 10 people living paycheck to paycheck, to me, it tells me that, a lot of parents aren't also practicing good personal finance habits, nor are they teaching that stuff to their kids. And so those habits are now given to their children, and they're now not managing their money probably very well. So I think, it's the ripple effect, right? It's that generation after generation. If you don't teach your kids about money in the school system and teach them about money, like, who's teaching them? And then you add on the challenges like you guys both brought up with inflation, high expenses, the way the housing market is. That makes it all that much more challenging. And I'll be honest, as a parent with my son being 14, I'm kind of frightened a little bit to know what the market's going to look like in, 10, 12 years. Because I see the way it's going now. Now, will we see it continue to, increase like we have over the last several years? I don't know, but it's a little scary to see what the future holds for him. I'm a little nervous.
Now, I agree though on boundaries, like having those boundaries set for your kids. And I have a 28-year-old daughter. I have a 7-year-old granddaughter. Honestly, if she's coming to me and she's struggling, I may not hand her money, but I'm probably going to bring her to the grocery store and buy her whatever they need. Like, I wouldn't even, am I going to do it every month? No. Do I agree that paying your kids' bills every month or portion of your kids' bills every month is a good idea? Definitely not.
Right.
But am I going to help out? Probably more than some.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's totally fair and reasonable. Like, we all go through hard times. I remember being in my early 20s. I was not on my own yet. I was still living at mom and dad's house. And I was working. I was going to college, but I was terrible with my money. And I had ran out of money. I couldn't buy groceries. I remember I called Mom. I'm like, Mom, there's only green beans in the cabinet. I was like, can you please send me up some money for groceries? She had no problem doing that because she knew I was working hard, working at school. Obviously, I was terrible at managing my money. Not so good. But yeah, I would say the same thing. I think it's fine to be able to help out when in need, but when it becomes enabling is where it becomes the problem, I think. And I think that's, especially when we read that statistic in that article, a third of 30-year-olds, still over 30, are still living at home. Or they're still paying their bills. That's crazy.
There's the old saying, what is it? That teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. It's such an overused phrase, but I think it certainly does apply here. For those of you who are listening, who are not in the ability like Ryan, I, or Amber, we can help our adult children without it hurting us financially. I think that's the difference here. Certainly it's nice to want to be able to help, but at the point that you're putting yourself in position, then you're almost putting yourself where neither one of you can eat, for lack of a better term. You've got to teach yourself how to fish and then teach your children how to fish so that you can push them out the door, get your financial situation in order so that you then can help.
So this isn't just living paycheck to paycheck. Right. This is like, I'm not going to jeopardize my savings for my daughter.
Right.
Will I help her? Yes, as much as I can. Yeah. But I'm not going to not put my money into my savings that I have planned for retirement, because I don't want to have to rely on her when it comes to that time either. Right. And I think that that's a big thing too. It's not just the paycheck to paycheck.
I'm an adult child, I guess, because I did just spend the last week with my parents sharing a cabin on a cruise. So that was fun. And when I was leaving for college, I had to take out student loans. My parents had good jobs. But because they had good jobs, I couldn't get as much financial aid, and they weren't really able to help pay for school. So I took out loans. They took out loans. They eventually, my dad's job, they closed the office that he worked in and gave him a severance package. And so they bought a hardware store, and then they put all their savings into the hardware store, and then they had to file bankruptcy when the economy crashed. And student loans don't go away when you file bankruptcy. Right. If you die, your student loans don't go away. Someone still has to pay them. So I know that was a financial burden on my parents, and obviously I have not always been the best steward of my money either over the years. So now that I'm on this debt freedom journey, they listen to the podcast. They did help me over time and everything, but I just paid off my student loans last February, like a year ago, and I have been out of college for 20 plus years, and it sucks, but yeah, you still got to pay your bills. But I do have a funny, maybe the opposite side of this. I just went on a date recently, and we went out for tacos. And
No,
he's
not
like, "Oh,
tacos.
his card declined at the end of the date, and his first call was to his mother immediately. Like, that was while he was sitting at the table with me. He was 36, 37 years old. And he's like, "Mom, it happened again. My card doesn't like Mexican restaurants. Remember, it like didn't work at Taco Bell the other day." I'm like, "If it didn't work at Taco Bell, what are you doing? Taking me to a nicer Mexican restaurant?" But I'm like, "Do you want me to pay for it?" He's like, No. Like, no, you're not covering anything.
Ma,
So-
meatloaf.
Yeah.
Mom, like, here, Mom.
I think, you know, for me, this is like, you
Yep.
know, part of this article is this, you know, this snowplow parenting kind of thing where we're going to like knock all the bad things out for our kids so they can just, you know, everything's easy. And that's just, I think that's, for me, that's just really where I struggle. One of my favorite quotes is a Walt Disney quote, and it's, "Every once in a while, a good kick in the teeth is what's best for you." And I truly believe that. I know that sounds callous, and I totally understand, for anybody listening, I understand how it feels to have to like bite my tongue when my kids are telling me stuff, and all I want to do is snowplow parent. Because I just want to be like, don't do that. Don't, like, here's how you should do that. That's all I want to do. But it's like, I'm not, if it was like life or death, I'm going to say something. Other than that, yeah, go for it. Because to me, that's how you're going to learn, you know.
Mhm.
Now, there are certain things that we would speak up on, but for the most part, just normal life stuff, you know, it's not my choice, because to me, like when my son's out, with him being gone now, it's like he's got to figure that out. And I will say, within just 1 month, he's been out just a little over a month. It's crazy how different he is already. And for people who are scared that your kids are going to, whatever it is you're scared of, we were scared too. But within 1 month, you know, it's like he was here a lot right away. And now it's like he came over here, I think 2 days ago, and he stopped by for 2 minutes to grab a piece of mail, and he's like, "See ya." And just in that month, like becoming a man and becoming his own person. And he's,
Yeah.
you know, it's awesome to
Right.
see your kids thrive like that. And the more that you don't allow them to thrive, it's just the more they'll stay. I know 100% if we didn't make him do that, he'd still be here. He was scared to death.
You can do to eliminate every possible failure that your kid's going to go through. There's nothing you can do. You have to let them fail to learn. That's how we learn things. Keeping quiet when you've got adult kids is hard, but it is what's necessary to allow them to fail so they can learn from it.
I think the picture that comes to mind is when you get on the airplane, you know, when it comes to this stuff, and when they go through like the pre-flight check, and what do they say? Put your oxygen mask on before you help anybody else. And I think, you know, that's really kind of the picture that you need to keep in mind when it comes to helping your adult kids. Because if you're doing it at the sacrifice of your own financial well-being,
Mhm.
You ain't helping anybody. You're making both of your lives worse by doing that. Whereas if you take responsibility for your financial life and you're a good place, well, then you set yourself up to be in a good place to be able to help your kids out to the point where you're just helping them, not enabling them. You know, and I think that's the line. I think I'm not terribly shocked, you know, obviously just with the expenses and the way that they are, and, you know, what we know, the statistic about personal finance, you know, and just how many people mismanage their money or aren't managing it at all. I mean, these numbers don't surprise me. But I do feel like you can, I mean, obviously help your kids and set your kids up for success by, you know, learning to manage your finances properly, having these conversations early and often, even before they become adults. So you're already kind of prepping them to push them out of the nest, so to speak. Because I think the more and I think Chris and Ryan, you guys are proof of that. Josh just did this. It's a tough time right now, and he still moved out. He's been doing this for years. This isn't something that he just did overnight. I mean, you guys have been working with him for years to get him to this point. And so I think, as parents, we need to kind of look at these things as examples of, okay, if I have younger kids and teenagers getting ready to be adults, like, we need to start working on some of this stuff so that they are ready and that they are prepared for what the world's going to offer. I can remember, when we were kids, or at least when I don't know if mom did this with you, Ryan, but she did it with me. When I turned 15 and got my job, she's like, I will pay for the necessities for you from now on. Like, you'll get a basic pair of shoes, basic clothes, but if you want extra, if you want to go to movies, if you want to go out with your friends, if you want to go to restaurants, if you want to do anything, I ain't paying for none of it anymore. You are on your own. And that was, but at the time that sucked, but that type of parenting really helped me become an adult and learn how to be an adult and learn how to manage money and, and learn how to take responsibility and work and all of those types of things. So, I mean, I'm all for kind of the tough parenting approach when it comes to getting your kids to do uncomfortable things. I think the more you can do that, the better off they're going to be.